Hey, today we're making something I like preparing for friends and family. It's Mexican Tostadas, also known as Salvadorian Enchiladas. Let's see how it's done. Here are the main ingredients I'll be using today. For a full list, check out the description below. From left to right, we have tomato paste, Parmesan cheese, tortillas, green pepper, onion, eggs, avocados, tomatoes, a lime, lettuce, black beans, and ground beef. These are all the ingredients needed to make the tasty layers of the tostada. Let's start this off. I'll start to prepare some of the ingredients for later use. First on the chopping block is the onion. I'll use this for the refried beans. Next, a base for the beef, which is made up of green peppers, tomato, and some onion. Since I want to cook the green pepper, tomato, and onion slowly, let's cook these first. Cooking them slowly develops more flavor and gets them nice and soft, so they can easily blend into the background. Just add about a tablespoon of oil. I like using olive oil, and set your heat to medium-high so the pan can heat up faster. Once the oil is a bit hot but not smoking, add the ingredients and a pinch of salt. Mix and cover it while reducing the fire to medium-low or just low. Check back in 4 minutes or so and stir again. See if the onion is translucent, and if all that remains from the tomato is the skin, then we are ready to add the ground beef. Add 1 pound of ground beef and a good pinch of salt. I like to salt every time I add something new to the pan. Next, let's add half a teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of chipotle powder, 1 teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce, pepper to taste, or about a quarter teaspoon, 3/4 of a small can of tomato paste. Now break down the meat as you mix it well. I just do a bit of chopping motion with my spoon to really break down the meat into a fine form, as I don't like having big chunks of meat. Once the meat is nicely broken down and everything is mixed, move the pan to a different burner and set it to low heat. It will be cooking for another 12 to 15 minutes to develop some flavor. Give it a stir at around 6 minutes, another at 10 minutes, just to make sure it doesn't burn. Let's start making the refried beans. Heat 1 tablespoon of oil and throw in the onions we chopped earlier. Fry them until they're browned and let them get a little charred for added flavor. Set it aside for now. Let's check on the meat. Taste it and adjust your seasoning. See if it needs more salt. Alright, it's done, so I'll set it aside. Back to the refried beans. I don't mind chewing on onions, but this step makes things smoother. A friend reminded me of it, so I decided to give it a go. Put the fried onions into the blender and a can of your favorite beans. Next, a quarter teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce, a quarter teaspoon of mustard, finally, a quarter teaspoon of garlic powder. Just adding a little bit of flavor, not too much. Blend until they're smooth. Heat a tablespoon of oil in the pan we used to make the onions. Once it's a bit hot, pour in the blended beans. Make sure you scoop out the beans from the sides and the base of the blender. Beans boil fast, so they splatter easily. To avoid that, I stir them often. Taste for salt, and add a good pinch to your liking. After 5 minutes or so, you'll see them start dry out. We don't want them to dry out, so let's cover them and set them aside. Time to make the hard-boiled eggs. Bring to a boil a small amount of water. Just enough so the eggs are covered 3/4 of the way. Cover and set a timer for 12 minutes. In the meantime, let's prepare the rest of the ingredients. I usually use romaine lettuce, but there weren't any at the market today, so iceberg it is. We need thin strands. The easiest way is to chop off the side of the lettuce to make it flat. Then just thinly chop across, making sure you run your knife all the way through. To add a bit of color, let's chop some tomato. Again, the market didn't have what I usually get, which are tomatoes on the vine. Oh well. Now to my favorite fruit, avocados. I like to buy an extra one or two, just in case one of them doesn't turn out great. It's easy to prepare mashed avocados. I just run cuts across and then scoop them out. One of them wasn't perfectly ready, so I had to use a little help to mash it. Add some salt to taste, and if you like, a squirt of lime. Looks like the egg timer is up. I'll just put these in some cold water. Use your favorite style of Parmesan cheese or something that crumbles. Here I happen to have a Parmigiano Reggiano, which I like because it adds a bit of salt and flavor. It's solid, so I need to put some work into grating it. The eggs had time to cool off and get peeled. Now it's a matter of slicing them. It's not too easy to do with a thick knife, so try to be careful. We are down to the last prep step, the fried tortillas. Heat up enough oil to cover the bottom of a pan. To avoid making the oil smoke, I don't have the fire set too high. When frying the tortillas, I like to give one side a quick fry, then flip it, and press the center part, then flip it as needed. The point is to avoid having the tortilla fluff up in the center. I want to keep these as flat as I can. Try not to fry them too much either, or they'll get too hard. Aim for a nice golden brown while having a solid center. Prepare as many as you think you'll need. For what we prepared, it'll be enough for 7+, depending on how thick you like them. Here is how I place them once they are fried so they can release some of the oil. It's time! Let's make our first tostada or Salvadorian enchilada. First, I like to put a thin layer of refried beans. Next, a layer of our tasty ground beef. You can use pulled chicken too. You can check that recipe out in the linked video. Now some tasty smashed avocado, shredded lettuce, a couple of slices of eggs, diced tomatoes, and finally sprinkle on some cheese. There you have it, our first one. Feel free to make it your own way. It's pretty fun to make these once you have all the ingredients ready to go. Thanks for watching my video. What do you put in your enchiladas or Salvadorian tostadas? Is there something I should try? Let me know in the comments. Also, don't forget to subscribe if you want to view future videos on food and tech in general. Cheers!